So what I want to do today is I'm going to show you the pond. So as you can see behind me, I've got the two lids on the pond. It's something I've had to put on because one of the fish that I've recently put in here has actually jumped out. Luckily it was only at the water probably 30 seconds if that, because I was only in the other room. But yeah, so I have had to install a lid on here. So I'm going to basically show you that today. I'm going to do a little feeding as well. I think the Stingray will finally eat by hand. He's eaten out of my hand a couple of times. I've not had a chance to film it yet, so I want to try and capture that on film. But as well as this, I want to show you my incubator build that's going on over here. It's almost done, basically. I've literally got to finish a few little bits, get the doors for it, print something else, and yeah, that's going to be my custom incubator finished. But yeah, first things first, I want to show you these doors and just all give you a little update on what's been going on with the pond. If you have followed this pond build from the very beginning, then you will know there are some fish missing, and that's because I've had a couple of losses. I've had a couple that I've had to move on just because they're too aggressive. But yeah, at the minute the pond is pretty much stable. There's something else that I need help with, so hopefully someone who watches this will know what to do and basically give me a little bit of advice. But yeah, other than that, snake room's pretty much as it is, not really changed. I've still got all my racks over here. I still need to build this rack that's missing. We've got the rack that's down here, that's doing really well with all my hatchlings. And yeah, everything seems to be fine, to be honest. It's all going really well. I still need to get the flooring done, but the flooring's just going to be the last thing once I've got everything in here. But yeah, let me quickly show you these, just because I'm quite proud of how these came out. Again, this was just like a quick bodge job, just to get something on the top, because before I used to have like a little bit of plastic that went across the rim there. It was just a bit naff, basically. But these, they weren't going to be a long-term thing, but now I've got them in place, I think they are pretty much going to be here until they break. I might need to upgrade a few bits on it, but other than that, these are pretty much bulletproof. So this is the pond as it stands. So as you can see, it's 95% there. This bit over on the corner here, I still need to get this little bit covered. There's a strip down the end there that I need to get covered just with this vinyl bits. That back piece there I need to get covered. Same for this inside piece here, that needs to get done. This top piece all up here, I mentioned it in a previous video. This is going to be a dart frog wall, and that's basically 6 foot long all the way along there. I'm not sure how big I'm going to make them just yet, but I want to make one big thing. So it's going to be one huge enclosure. They are going to be divided so I can have different types of frogs and species and things like that, but I want it to be all one conjoined thing because I want waterfalls and misters and filtration and all that sort of stuff on it. So it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a big job this, but I've got this whole wall. Hopefully this is going to go down over here. Once I get this rack built there, that's then going to move down to there. So that's the idea. But yeah, it's all coming along. So I wanted to quickly show you these lids. So as you can see, I've got 2 acrylic panels. I was going to go for glass, but one, they're just too heavy. I'm quite clumsy, I tend to drop stuff, and the last thing I wanted was glass breaking, falling into the pond, and things like that. So I've gone for acrylic. So this is 4mm acrylic, so it's not particularly thick, but it's strong enough to the point where it can sort of hold itself up. It does bow in the middle a little bit, which you'll see when I pop it up onto the rails. But yeah, this was just this gap here. Again, I'm going to figure out something to put there just to stop anything trying to jump through there. At the minute, I'm just placing like a heavy object there to block that off, but there will be something there eventually. These lights, again, these are only temporary. These are the lights that I was using. They were originally mounted up underneath at the back, facing down, but because these panels actually slide up and underneath this, I had to move the lights to the front just because they were in the way, basically. But again, with the lights, I'm planning on getting some underwater LEDs to put actually in the pond. That way you don't get any glare from the lights. So if you imagine you're trying to film, this is what you see. You've got that glare. And again, I want to get them because again, you can see the lights from the ceiling, you get all this glare. It's not nice to film and it makes it quite difficult. So that's the whole idea. They'll be placed at the back, those LED strips. I'll probably get 2 or 3 in here, have them angled in different directions. That way the whole pond should get some decent light, and they're pretty much hidden out of the way. They're going to be right at the back, so they shouldn't sort of block the view or anything like that. But yeah, these panels are really nice. To get these panels away, all I'm doing is I literally lift the panel up. I do need to put some holes in these at some point, and I literally just slide got to be careful because it is a very snug fit, but they basically just slide all the way underneath like that. And I do have like little rails, you can see there, that's the rail that it goes on. I've got one there, I've got one that goes down the middle, and then there's one over there for that one. So the thing I like about this is I've done it in two halves, because if I do want to feed, I can just move one panel up and I've got the other panel there basically. At some point I do need to cut some little holes in these. I'm trying to put that off for as long as possible. I do know someone that's got a laser cutter, so I might get someone to use their laser cutter on this and cut it for me, rather than me trying to use a circular saw and mess it up and risk cracking it, scratching, everything like that. This stuff does scratch very easily. I was cleaning this with some paper towel just here. Again, you can't really see it until you're up close or you get in a certain light, but this area here was where I wiped it with a paper towel, and it has actually scuffed the surface of this, which I was quite shocked about. I didn't think it would scratch that easy. So just bear that in mind. If you are going to use acrylic for anything, if you are going to clean it, I suggest using like a microfiber cloth or something like that, something that's very soft, because this stuff marks very easily even using paper towels. So just bear that in mind. So one of the issues that I wanted to show you on this and get some advice on is the overflow, or the outlet. So over here you can see, if it ever focuses, the underneath that screen there, that's what I'm using to sort of stop the fish from going down there, because I've had a couple of fish go down there now and actually die, which isn't ideal. So for now that's my little temporary fix, but I am going to 3D print a grate that goes over that. So it's literally just a tube that goes all the way straight through the wall. Once it gets to the other side of the wall, there's like a T-section, there's the open bit at the top, and then it goes straight down into the filter. Now I'll put some footage up of the noise it makes now. And yeah, that's basically the noise I'm dealing with. I've tried loads of things. The pipe that goes into the sump, I've tried extending it all the way to the bottom, it still makes noise. I've tried putting a filter sock, shortening that tube, putting a filter sock on it, it still makes the noise. I've tried blocking off the top pipe, see if that actually helps. I don't know what to do. If anyone knows how to make it a lot quieter, if it's not dead silent, it doesn't bother me too much, but I want something that is going to be fairly quiet, like a whisper in the background basically. So yeah, if anyone knows, either send me a message on Instagram or drop me a comment on the video. I really would appreciate it. So before I get to feeding these, because I am sort of defrosting their food as we speak as well, so while that's defrosting, I'll just show you the progress on the incubator. So I think I made a post on it on my Instagram, so as you can see now I've got all my heat cables in, which I'm really happy with. That it turned out really well. If I come over here, you can just see that's all I had left of that cable, so you can see it runs all the way around the side at the bottom. That's all I had left, so I pretty much got my calculations spot on, which is nice to know. Just shows I kind of know what I'm doing. But yeah, so this is just heat cable. A lot of people use this for their gardens. This is actually a soil warming cable that I use. It's not a Reptile brand or anything like that. It pretty much just does the same thing, but I guess it's probably half the price. I wouldn't know, just because I haven't looked at them. But yes, this is how I'm going to be running my incubator. So this is going to be all the heating, gone for all three sides. I've not put any heating on the top, because obviously the heat's going to rise. I've not got any heat on the bottom. Again, it's just pointless. So this is how I've got my boxes set up. So I've worked out, if I just step back, I can get 12 clutches in here in total. So we've got 3 boxes here, and then you can see I've got these 2 little brackets just above there. There's 2 more, and there's 2 more, and it leaves me quite a big open space at the top, which is what I wanted. You think all that hot air is going to come up to the top eventually, it's going to collect to the top, it's going to be quite warm up there. So I wanted all these tubs as low down as possible in the incubator. But you can see where those brackets are. I'm using these metal rods. These are just steel rods, they're only cheap. And what I've done is I've 3D printed some little brackets that go on the side of the wall, and that's what the rods, they literally just slot into. So if I ever need to take these out for anything, I can basically. And pretty much everything else on here is all 3D printed. So these little clips I've used to hold the heating cable in, they're 3D printed again. These runners, so this is where my doors are going to go. I've got 2 runners that I've 3D printed. As you can see, I just need to 3D print some last ones. But again, for the doors on this, I'm going to be using acrylic. just because again I don't want to faff around with glass. Glass is quite expensive, and apparently the acrylic will actually hold the heat a lot better than the glass, I've been told. So that is another option. Just makes it easier for me cutting it to size, things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will be getting a thermostat for this as well. I'm going to get one of the Wi-Fi enabled ones just so I can keep an eye on it from when I'm away. I'm going to be installing some fans up here, 2 little fans which are going to blow air down the middle, and hopefully that will circulate the air around all the tubs and keep the air moving. But yeah, so that's how my incubator is going. Once it's done, I'll obviously give a full update, show you how it's working, holding temps and things like that. But yeah, this is the progress I've made. I've still got to do some cosmetic things on the side, like these bits are all going to be wrapped, and yeah, it's going to look good once it's done, I hope. Trying to focus on this pond, it's going to be quite difficult just because obviously the fish are moving around and the glare and things like that, so I'm going to try and do my best while feeding. The stingray, you can see, but you can't see, that's one of the issues. I've got that glare from the lights. That's one thing that I need to get the lights in the pond so that I can turn the main lights off, and then it makes it a lot easier, especially for filming and things like that. But yeah, he should come up eventually and feed. I'll try and get that. So while I'm feeding, I'll just talk you through what I've got in here basically at the minute. So you will see some of the fish are quite aggressive. There are some decent sized fish like this guy now. He's bigger than my hand. This is a tilapia, I think a striped tilapia or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact name. But he's absolutely huge, and he's also quite a bully. He's bullying a lot of the other fish in here, sort of chasing them around, sort of trying to show him who's boss. But as you can see, he's a lovely looking fish. Never kept one of these before. You can see he's got some blue on his lips. He is quite blue on his underbelly, on his fins, which is nice. So he's one of the fish. You see this black fish I've got here. This is called a black shark. They get quite big. They're normally like a bottom feeder. The stingrays come up. They're like a bottom feeder. He does clean a lot of the scraps up, to be honest, but majority of the time he comes up and feeds anyway. And all the fish in here, they're all pretty much tweezer fed, apart from my archer fish who's darting over there, as you can see him go. Stingray, he's actually waiting patiently for me. If you can see him down here, he does blow bubbles, and sometimes he will come up to the surface and he sort of slaps his the side of his fins on the side as well, so just to let me know he's here. I want to try and focus. There you go. So he sort of does that. He slaps his fins on the side. But we'll get this in here, and as soon as he smells it, he should jump on. Again, he's very new to feeding at the top. He used to be just feeding on the bottom and things like that, but he is slowly getting more and more confident feeding on the surface, which is what I want. I want everything in here to be hand fed basically. But yeah, other than that, I've got a couple of green terrors. They're both really aggressive when it comes to feeding. As you can see, they all feed off the tongs. I've got 2 little scats in here as well. A lot of people have told me that they will eventually need to go into a brackish water tank or a saltwater tank. Here he goes again. At the minute they're doing fine in here. I've not shown any signs of distress from them. They're still growing, they're still feeding, so I think I'm going to leave them in here for as long as I can basically. I have got a saltwater tank upstairs, so if I need to I can transfer them into that. That's not an issue. Another thing I've got in here is an African pike. Again, he's not so aggressive towards the other. There you go, you can see the tilapia, he's sort of showing on his boss, but the African pike's over here. He's quite a fast guy. He does come up, he does feed off the tweezers when the tilapia is not there, but he will come up, and he's quite aggressive when he takes stuff off the tongs. A lot of the time he blows up the top of the water, and there's normally like a huge splash, and yeah, he's a bit of a beast. You've got to be careful if you've got your fingers in the pond. He will tend to come up and have a go, so you've got to be very careful. Now normally I would sit here and I would feed the majority of the fish, just because I want to make sure all the fish are eating. I want to get them used to that tong feeding. And the other thing I don't like doing is chucking a load of food in, meaning that the stingray can just feed off the bottom, because ideally I want him to feed off the surface and off the surface only. So he's coming up now. We'll see if we can. Got to be careful as well. That tilapia, you can see the teeth on him. He always comes up to the surface and has a go. So I've got to be careful. It's really hard trying to hold the camera, get this to focus and feed at the same time. what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the camera up on a tripod, and I'm just going to do a quick feeding montage basically, just to try and get a better view. And that's pretty much it. Again, I like to hand feed everything just because I want to make sure everything is eating, everything's coming up, everything's good. And then once I'm happy everything's sort of had a few pieces, that's when I just start chucking all the other bits in. Any small shredded bits that I've put in for the smaller fish, any larger chunks that are going to go to the bottom eventually or hopefully to feed him if he's still hungry. With the black shark, I don't actually know where he is. I mean, he's sulking. There he is, he's over there. He's not a big fan of the shrimp that I feed. Again, he's more of like an algae grazer. He will eat it if he's hungry, but I like to feed him these trout pellets. So I just dropped it in. It's like a 12, yeah, probably about a 12mm trout pellet, maybe 14 at a push. It's quite hard pellets, so none of the other fish are interested in it really. The Stingray, again, he'll sort of breeze over it, he'll see it and ignore it. Yeah, it's mainly just for this guy. And what he'll do is he'll go up to it, he'll have a little nosh on it, go away, come back to it, and that just sort of keeps him preoccupied, gives him something to do really. Because there's no live plants in here, obviously I've got these fake ones. I do tend to put all fake ones over the back again, like I've said. But yeah, as you can see, he has a good old nibble on that. He absolutely loves them. And I don't like to put too many of these in because they're very oily. I don't want too much of that going, so I'll sort of pop one in here every few days, just as like a little treat for him. So yeah, normally I'd have the actual filter running, just because it is so noisy. So ideally, yeah, I wouldn't be turning it off, but I've got the pump on the inside here. I still need to tidy all this wall up, but it is quite a noisy pump. You can see I've got this turned down. This goes up to 12, I think, but it still makes quite a lot of flow, as you can see. Pumps a lot of water. And yeah, this is all I'm using really. I'm not using anything else on here to move the water around. It's basically just that one pump. It will quieten down eventually. Once this eventually fills up just above that, this splash noise will disappear. This is an issue. You can't hear this at all because this is actually underneath the water level. It's just that back bit there. So if anyone does know how to quieten this down, then yeah, please do let me know, because it absolutely does my head in. I hate turning the pump off while I'm filming, just because I want this to keep running basically. And that's it basically. That's basically what I want to show you in the pond, show you the update. Obviously it's nice to show you the incubator just so you can see how that's going along, and then just a few of the other little updates that have been going on in the room. If you have watched my channel for any amount of time, you would have seen this room from start to finish, to when I had the little crappy rack over in this corner, and I had something over here and something else going on over there. If you've watched, you've sort of seen the progression of it. I've sort of shown pretty much everything that I've done, and I'm just going to continue to do that. Some people like it, some people don't, but I think it's nice to show your journey of where you started, where you ended up, just so you can see how you've progressed and things like that. But yeah, I do actually have a clutch in the incubator. I've got a clutch coming soon. It's nothing exciting, it's just an ultra mill to a pastel clown, so again, making more double hets for the future. I do have another clown female that's due to drop for me within the next couple of weeks, and that's a butter blitz that I've again bred to a clown. So hoping for some blitz combos. That blitz is very similar to hurricane. I don't know if it is the same or not. I don't think anyone's ever put a blitz and a hurricane together, but I'm working with the blitz side of it, so it'd be interesting to see how that turns out. Get some blitz clowns, compare them to the hurricanes, see how they look. As you can probably hear, the overflow in the corner is quite loud, so that's why I have to turn it off, because I'm doing any filming. I feel like I have to speak a little bit louder just to try and cover the sound of that up basically. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this little update. I'm going to try and get some more updates out. It is hard, I do work full time, and everything in this room, it is time and it costs a lot of money to do. So a lot of these projects, they are slow growing, they are sort of month to month sort of thing, as and when I can get them done. So yeah, bear with me. I'm going to be doing loads more, and also I've got an update, but I'll probably mention that in the next video. But yeah, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.